Well, welcome back to another episode of the Brand My Career podcast. I'm joined today by Joel Whittle, and so he's going to be jumping on and sharing a bit of his career journey. So we'll jump in. Joel, thanks for joining me on the show today, mate.
No worries, mate. It's good to be here. It's
Yeah, really cool. So
good to
I
talk
was
to you.
keen just to get you to share a little bit about who you are and what you do and where you're from, and then we'll dive into the interview.
Sweet. As Alex said before, my name's Joel Whittle. I am in Newcastle, so based in Newcastle. I call it God's country.
Yeah,
And pretty much what I do is I own a video production company up here. We serve all over Australia. We also do some stuff overseas as well. We
yeah,
create videos for
awesome,
people
awesome.
pretty much. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. That was exactly what my boss was when I just started my new role up here in Newcastle. Yeah, God's country apparently is where I was moving to. So, glad to be here, and yeah, it's been really enjoyable so far. But I was keen to sort of dive into a bit of your career journey. I sort of came across you on LinkedIn, and I was sort of checking out your work, and then when I was seeing your employment history, I was thinking, oh, geez, we actually we did our apprenticeship study at the same place, CRT in Canberra, and I thought, oh, geez, this guy was a plumber, and now he's doing this stuff. That's a pretty cool story, and I always love hearing those stories of people that have made sort of significant career transitions and stuff. So, what was it that got you into plumbing initially, and I guess out of that, what was it that then sort of moved you out of that?
Originally I was a plumber, so I grew up in a town called Goulburn. So it's probably an hour near Canberra for
Yeah,
anybody that doesn't know Goulburn. Very cold place in the
yeah,
winters, and then can be very hot in the summers. So I pretty much just got into plumbing because all my mates were going into apprenticeships. That was just kind of the thing to do.
yeah,
You'd either leave in year 10 and go to an apprenticeship, or year 12 or uni. I wasn't book smart to go to uni, so
yeah,
an apprenticeship it was.
yeah,
The plumbing was kind of the first thing that come up, so I just jumped into it. I did that for 4 years, my apprenticeship, then I pretty much left on the day I got my certificate.
yeah,
I'd had enough. I was out of there. Um, it's something that I'll always appreciate having.
yeah,
My boss was really great. He was open to teaching me a lot of things and gave me opportunities to go out and explore things like going on an extended holiday and doing all that type of young people things. So I am really appreciative of that.
yeah,
Still to this day, almost what is it? Almost 8 years, no 6 years, 6 years now. So
yeah,
how I come into the video space is kind of a little bit different. So I've kind of always been into photography. Was probably the start of my creative type brain ticking over and
yeah,
stuff like that. So I'd get into photography, which then turned into doing some video as well. And then pretty much when I'd come back from overseas, so I did a bit of a gypsy travel thing for, was it supposed to be 6 months? Ended up being 4 years. Um, come back, and then I pretty much just got asked from a friend. I was really unsure in what I wanted to do. I was bouncing between jobs. I was cleaning pools at 1 minute. I was back on site labouring, and I did a bit of plumbing work as well.
yeah,
But yeah, it just wasn't fulfilling. I didn't like getting up in the morning, going to work, which isn't a good feeling.
yeah,
So a friend just asked me, if there was one thing you could pick, like what was it, just in its simplest, rawest form. And I was
yeah,
like, oh, I'd actually love to, try this photography video type gig. So yeah, ended up jumping into that. That was probably a good 2 years ago now, and then I pretty much just went in to do a degree, which I kind of regret doing these days. I didn't really learn as much as I thought I would do. I probably learned more off
yeah, yeah.
YouTube,
Yeah,
to be
that
honest.
was interesting because I was going to sort of get into that in terms of like the upskilling or reskilling to transition from the apprenticeship to getting to sort of videography stuff. Like, so
Yep.
what was that course that you did?
Um, so it was a film degree in, was it, I can't remember the exact name of it. It was a bachelor's in film and video or something like that, something media.
Right. Yeah.
I can't remember the full actual title of it, but yeah, it was just a bachelor's degree in film or media.
Yeah.
But I've always been technical around a camera since high school, so I knew how to use a camera and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
it was more just running a business type thing is totally different. Like you could be the best. Like I'm not the best video shooter. There's people that are way better than me, but I'm more interested in the business type aspect of it.
Yeah.
I bring in a lot of people who are better at me in certain jobs in certain areas, and I just kind of build a team around that.
Yeah.
I kind of just the man in the middle, manage kind of everything,
Yeah.
depending on what it is,
Yeah.
and then I'll learn from those people.
Yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, from there, I've just joined like a community, so I learn a heap off them. So yeah, YouTube's great. Learn a lot of skills on YouTube. You go out, you,
Absolutely.
you, you
Yeah.
screw it up. Oh well, I'll try this next time. It's a lot of trial and error,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, well, it's pretty much YouTube that's taught me how to start a podcast, so
yeah, it's
and
great.
other podcasts.
Free.
But how would you sort of thinking back to that apprenticeship? Because I think you touched on something really cool there, in that you can have both this great gratitude for what something was, but also coming to that place where it's time to move on, and it's sort of like you can't cling to it, even though it was something that like has served you well. But what would you say are some of the things that completing your apprenticeship sort of has taught you and set you up for what you're now doing?
Um, it's a good question. I think like you're going to get out of anything what you put into it. If you
Yeah,
turn up half-assed, then you're probably going to get a half-assed job. I mean, when I was doing my apprenticeship, it was just me and my boss, so there wasn't like a team of 12 plumbers going around, and you could you got all the jobs, you got all the shit jobs,
yeah,
um, which is which is cool. It's fair. I totally understand that. I wouldn't want to be doing it either if I was a
yeah,
boss. That's why you bring an apprentice on anyway.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, just those type of learnings. You get out what you put into it is kind
yeah,
of one of my biggest things, especially running your own video company as well. You're not gonna just sit on the lounge and work's gonna come in. You gotta go out there, put yourself out there, give value to people, show them what you can do, and how that would impact their business or their company. I
yeah,
do a lot of stuff like that as well, because a lot of people don't really know what they can do with video,
yeah,
especially the videos and stuff that we do. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, that would probably be my biggest takeaway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. And then obviously that sort of skill piece was, so you were always interested in sort of video and photography and things like that, and it had just sort of been a background thing, and then you sort of decided to sort of try and move that more into the business space. And so you'd always been sort of cultivating those skills, this sort of naturally throughout high school, and this with your own interest. And then it was more so about sort of drilling down on the business side and how you could actually turn that into a business was the journey for you.
Yeah, pretty much
Yeah,
exactly. So I
yeah,
knew I know basic stuff with the camera, and then yeah, the next thing was all right. How do I actually turn it into a business? Because there's one thing, you're doing a job. There's a lot of freelancers, it's more just the job. Like you are the job, you are the business.
yeah,
Now, how do I turn that into something that I could potentially step away from, and it's still kicking and turning? Yes,
yeah,
you're probably going to take a bit of a cut profit margin wise, but you're going to have all this free time back to be able to strategically figure out how you're going to bring more work in for the business, and
mm,
or keep clients that you have now. You can be a lot more strategic. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm
yeah.
kind of
No,
building slowly at the moment. Yeah,
that's I think that's a really cool mindset, and one that's definitely helps you. Yeah, if you're interested in actually scaling something, then you need to work on those strategies, don't you, to sort of be able to build it into what you want it to, and sort of get out of that position of, yeah, every bit of your income is tied to your direct time and output in a specific task, whatever that sort of industry might be and stuff.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I think that's a really cool way to be approaching things. We'll sort of dive into, so your business is obviously really built around storytelling. Like that's something that you really focus on. What was it about, or what is it about storytelling that you're really drawn to, and what do you think is the draw to that for you?
yeah. So I think storytelling is probably the greatest marketing tool that any company or business company or anybody can use. A prime example of this is obviously Red Bull. if you look at Red Bull, look on their social media page, they don't have one Red Bull can on their feed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what Red Bull does is, if you have a Red Bull, it gives you wings. That's
Mm.
their. And then what happens when you have wings, you go out and do all this extreme shit,
Yeah.
like stuff that'll kill normal people every day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, that's one sense of storytelling. I just think, like, getting emotion out of people, again, like that emotion of feeling adrenaline, extreme, people energy, like that ties in really well, whether you consciously know it or subconsciously.
Yeah.
That's why people are drawn to Red Bull. That's why they got the
Mm.
F1 team. Like, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And that's the same with any business, any company. They all have stories to tell.
Mm.
A really good one is, just like the origin story, is probably like the butter piece. So, who you are, what you do, why you do it for people, the value that you bring, um, why you're different to other business that might be in the same zone. Um, it's just the main reason to use storytelling is to just evoke emotion, because when people either buy a brand or a specific brand or use a specific business, they might not be the best brand in the world, but they might be emotionally connected to that business somehow. Like Nike is a really good example.
Yeah.
People just love Nike, so when they buy the shoes, they buy the shorts, then they buy the shirt, then they buy the hat. Like, they buy
Yeah.
everything Nike, because the way they market and use stories, like they don't go out and say, "Hey, look, here are shoes. They're 50% off. Buy one get one free." Type. They don't do that.
Yeah.
They use stories like, one that I watched the other day was, Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick, yeah. So around his story, he's the NFL player, and he was grabbing all these stories from people like Serena Williams, Coco Gauff, people of color,
Yeah.
um, which was an amazing story, because they were saying, "Look, anything is possible. This is where we come from. This is where we are now." And that made me want to go out and buy a pair of Nike running
Yeah.
shoes and go try and run 40Ks, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's going to pull in emotion and go, shit. We need that, or we need to,
Yeah.
convince our customers that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, people connect to a story, and it's when you make that connection is when people actually start sort of buying into something, and then they're sort of coming on a journey with that brand rather than just purchasing an item. It's you're sort of feeling a part of something, and that sense of belonging. Like, it is. It's super powerful. Um, it even sort of comes through, like, because obviously that element of storytelling, like I've sort of come from a career development background and stuff, and helping people get into employment, and obviously, like, one of the biggest things for getting a job, like in interviewing well, is that ability to sort of actually tell story in your interview, and then that's what's actually going to create that connection with the person that's interviewing you. And this, when you create that connection, that's when you can actually get buy-in and build trust and all that sort of thing. If you're sort of rattling off a list of things you've done, that, like, that could be true, that might not be true, but if you're telling a story, like, people can sort of really quickly get past all the different steps of mistrust that you might have that just naturally exists, and sort of draw close and connect with someone and stuff. So that's obviously working with businesses. Like, in terms of like an individual and people that are just looking to build a personal brand, how does story sort of help them sort of in that process, do you think?
Yep. So we obviously do the work with companies and all that type of stuff and the corporate thing, but then we also do, which I've just kind of done this year, is we kind of help people build a personal brand online.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've been using LinkedIn a lot this year. I'm more going into the tech stuff only because I want to get better at copywriting and do all that type of thing. But in terms of somebody just wanting to build up their personal brand and using storytelling in that, is again just, you're not selling you're not selling yourself. You're not saying, "Hey, look, this is what we can do." And I had a call with a person yesterday. She just kept telling me, "Oh, you'll get this, you'll get this, you'll do this, you'll do this is what'll happen." I'm like, let's just stop for a minute. Let's just simplify it. I was like, "What do you do?" There it was. All right, and how do you do that? And she did that. All right, and how many people have you worked with? Oh, thousands. All right, and how many years have you done it? 35 years. I was like, there's your story, like right there. You do XYZ, you help him in this sector, you have this amount of people that you've helped in the past 35 years, which was over 1,000 people, and yeah, and your experience, which is 35 years. That's your quick 30-second story. It doesn't have to be this big Hollywood type story, oh, it's hit rock bottom and then I come back up and held the trophy. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. Um, there's smaller ways that you can create a story. It doesn't have to be actual personal story as well. Personal stories work really well on platforms like LinkedIn. You'll see a lot of personal stories. I do a lot of personal stories as well because again, it builds that trust, so people can relate to you. You say, "Oh, I actually I really enjoy coffee," or "I like movies," or people can kind of relate to that as well. It's not just sell, 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 business, business, business. People want a lot of different touch points when they work with you. Normally, I think there's a stat or something that people will see you 7 times before even thinking about buying from you.
Yeah.
So, in regards to the videos that we create for them, is we're just giving value to people. So, we just want to give them a quick little dopamine hit. So, what we do is what are your general questions that you might get asked? What are some real quick, free value ideas that you can just give out to people for free? So, all you're pretty much doing is you're telling them everything that you know. The only thing that you're going to be selling is the implementation of what you're teaching people.
Mm. Yeah.
So when they go, "Oh wow, oh, Alex just told me this, it worked. I went away and I did that and it worked," and then they're going to go, "Oh shit, all right, what else has he got?" And then that's when they kind of get into in a lot of work with a lot of coaches and consultants. They go, "All right, what's their one? Oh, they got one-on-one coaching. Oh, they've got a mastermind. Oh," and then that's when they start to get in. So you're building this customer like journey, as you said before. You're not just saying, "Here's your ad, you'll get yada yada yada. It's $9.99. Come buy my course." It's
Yeah.
not kind of how it works these days. You've got a whole system and funnel that you need to go through there. And you use stories. Use personal stories. Use your company story. You use stories from other people who have worked with you before, like client stories, case studies, all that type of thing. So yeah, I kind of went
Yeah.
on a bit of a ramble there, but yeah, that's
No,
kind of
no,
what it
it's
is.
good. It's that you did have. So you were talking the other day about this 30 days and 30 minutes. Like, do you want to share a bit about that and how that can be something that people could be accessing and using as a way of building their online personal brand?
Sure. So pretty much what it is, it's the 30 by 30 method. So it's just like a real entryway for people to start creating content, getting used to talking in front of a camera, um, and just start to feel comfortable about putting themselves out there without having to feel awkward and what is it, analysis paralysis on their videos and ums and ahs
Yeah.
and everything. So pretty much what it is, it's kind of like what we're doing here. It's like a riverside conversation, and what it is we obviously research and develop your ideas. So it's just something for us to help other people in all different parts of the world that want to do content. Um, so yeah, pretty much what it is we just research and develop all these ideas for you around your niche and who you're trying to help. We then do like an idea generation. We then turn them into questions. And then pretty much what we do is we just spit back these questions to you, and then you'll just be answering the questions that either myself or somebody in my team will ask. And then all that's happening is that recording session is getting recorded. At the end, once we're happy with going through all the questions, we'll then take that recording session over to our editing team, who will then edit all those short clips up, and then they'll deliver those videos too. So what these videos are, it's just like top of funnel awareness type videos, like I was talking about before, just you giving out value to people. And then from then they can kind of see who you are. They'll click on your profile, see what you do, and kind of go from there. So that's just like a real quick entry type point. People don't want to, spend thousands of dollars a month on actual video production with a light, the studio, and all that type of stuff. They can go for something like this, which is just a lot cheaper. It's a lot quicker as well, so it's just half an hour every month. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a really great way of creating that I guess on board for people that like you. We chatted earlier when we were catching up, and you're sort of obviously these sort of projects can be either really low budget or massive budgets, and it's a great way for people to just be able to sort of dip their toe in and start putting themselves out there, because it's obviously a big journey for people. There's a lot of internal work that needs to happen for someone to sort of come to that point where they're willing and ready to put themselves out there, start, talking about themselves online. I think there's, obviously a lot of hurdles that people have internally. So it's great to have a service where they can actually have someone sort of helping them through that process to sort of start putting themselves out there, getting that story shared with the world, and start adding value to the people around them. That's the thing about this sort of model of business, this whole storytelling and giving away the value that you have, giving that away for free as a business model. It's kind of flipped traditional business on its head, really. It's sort of like you give away 99% of your information and your resources for free, and it's the 1% that sort of pays for that then sort of down the track as you sort of offer this value. And it's sort of, it's quite counterintuitive, really. And I think people might often withhold that, sort of going like, oh, I'm not going to give that away for free. Like, that's, valuable and a valuable asset of mine. But it's kind of counterintuitive, and it actually works against you if you're not in that position to be willing to share and just add value, build that trust. It does come back to help you in the end, doesn't it?
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if there's something that you really want to keep close to your chest, you can do that. If there's a really special process that you really want to keep hidden, then absolutely. I'm not saying give that out to everybody to copy. Just make sure you're protected and stuff if you do end up giving that. If it is something that's IP or something like that, whatever it is. But the more you give, the more you're going to get back. So
yeah. KFC might not be sharing their 11 herbs and spices just yet.
No.
So then, when we caught up the other day as well, you had mentioned that there's a sort of new business idea that you've been sort of preparing. Do you want to share a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So it's a little bit different to the video space. So it's pretty much an e-commerce brand that we've started here in Australia. So it's called Spunkii.
Yeah.
So it's Spunkii. Pretty much what it is, it's a chocolate designed for couples. To put it point blank, it's just like it's a sex chocolate for couples, pretty much. And what it is our goal is to create experiences for couples, to make sure that they're taking the time out, exploring intimacy and all that type of stuff as well. Obviously, as you get along in a relationship, things can kind of, maybe they die out. For some, they might not. This way we're introducing some aphrodisiac type chocolates. And what that is, it's just like a 3 in a box will come out. You'll be able to scan a QR code on the box. And then in the QR code, there'll be like a Spotify playlist. There'll be some foreplay games. There'll be positions, like all that type of stuff. It's all pretty, we've kind of gamified the whole thing. You'll have like 2 pieces of chocolate. You'll be able to split and share with each other. And then the rest is history. So we're building like a newsletter around that as well. We have a writer, Joey, who's our marketing wizard. She used to write for Penthouse. If you know Penthouse was a pretty big sex magazine back in the day. So she was a writer and columnist for that. So she's writing articles all the time, giving out value, educating people, entertaining people. Of course, there's going to be some entertaining stories in there. We're just kind of the bridge to help people, stop and make the time for each other. But then, they obviously have to do the implementation, and, we've got to keep them kind of accountable as well. So we can't do everything for you. So again, that's why we created the games, the playlist, and the positions as well as for everybody to try.
Yeah. And what was it that sort of got you sort of thinking about moving into that sort of space? Like, obviously, like we said, like we've started the journey as a plumber, and then, videography, and now launching a sex chocolate. Like, I just love the story, and seeing how people can sort of embrace these different opportunities that come along. So what was it that made you sort of move to this space?
Yeah. So I got the idea from a podcast that I was watching. So there's a guy in the States who does it. but they just do just chocolate. Like there's no other value add on top of that. Um, Again, they're creating experiences and doing all that type of thing. So we kind of got the inspiration from that, and we are kind of like, all right, cool. How can we kind of make this our own and make it more valuable for people to be able to enjoy and keep using? You know, if you're just gonna eat a piece of eat something and then stare at a roof for 45 minutes, it's kind of not. You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing else there to keep the whole experience going. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's why how we come up with the the added features and all of that as well. So seeing the idea that was happening over in the States. There's nothing over here in Australia that do something like that. So we kind of took inspiration from that idea, and then we're creating it into our own thing. So yeah, sweet. So you can either just find me on LinkedIn. That's a pretty easy thing. So obviously Joel Whittle on LinkedIn, and you'll see the big blue profile picture. So it's pretty easy to stand out. Even if you just want to have a chat or just got some questions about video or even the chocolate as well, just flick me a message on LinkedIn. I'm always active on there. Or you can just go to my website for the production company, which is just Wim Media, so wim.com.au. Pretty simple. And you can go through there and kind of look at our point system and how we kind of work there. So we kind of built like a frequent video points flyer system, how it works. So I won't go into too much detail because I'll be here for another 20 minutes. But yeah, that's the best way.
Awesome.